what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you're going to get a prize and find no prize in the box?
You got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me.
Freehand is beating his net at the plate. Crawford is over there watching. Good see, sir. You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on. Oh, I must be in the front row.
Hey, how's everyone doing out there? Welcome to the Word Home Media presentation of Enemy of My Enemy. I am Pete.
I'm Ryan. This is Enemy of My Enemy. I am a lifelong Tigers fan and a hardcore Cubs fan for the last, 30 years. You are a lifelong diehard White Sox fan and a more recent Brewers fan, just to spite me. We are Enemy of My Enemy. This week, it's been a couple weeks since we came to you, but we have plenty to talk about, including Tony Clark. Does anyone want to talk about that?
Ex-Tiger?
Oh my God. Yeah. Ex-Tiger. Yeah. Disgraced ex-MLB executive. We'll have to talk about that at some point. But before we even get to that, we're going to talk about my Tigers going for it. Full send, just as I had predicted months ago that they would do. And I'm delighted that they actually are doing it. We've got plenty of White Sox headlines to talk about. Not necessarily the best headlines. Some are good, but most are quite comical as the White Sox keep White Soxing. A little bit of Cubs news to talk about. Of course, Tom Ricketts had to speak and put his foot in his mouth again.
Enjoy the season.
Yeah. We'll get to that. I'm going to tie that into some salary cap and floor discussions and the looming labor strife, but how a salary cap might actually look and work. Your Brewers continue to trade away all of their best players.
And we're still going to win the NL Central.
I mean, it's going to be hard to pick against you. I don't even know who's on your fucking roster anymore. But then we're going to reintroduce an old segment we used to call aesthetics. We're going to call it eyewash now, where talk about uniforms and logos and stuff that doesn't matter in baseball. We've got some Marlins throwback uniforms that came out with some hilarious descriptions. And potentially the best giveaway of all time is going to be from the Rangers this summer. Got to talk about that jersey. But I think with that, we might as well go ahead and jump into the news. My Detroit Tigers are fucking going for it. Full send. Just as we talked about with the Skubal situation, right as the season ended, they basically had three options. They could trade him. They could sign him for $400 million for 10 years, which seemed unlikely. Or they could hold on to him and fucking go for it in 2026. And that was what I always wanted them to do. I predicted them to do, and they're fucking doing it. Much of Detroit was wringing their hands throughout this offseason, as Tigers hadn't done a whole lot other than adding Kenley Jansen and re-signing Kyle Finnegan and Gleyber Torres signing a one-year deal. So it was becoming difficult to be a Tigers fan, as it's a weird dynamic in Detroit, because it seems like all our pro franchises have been hesitant to really go for it, make big deals, free agent signings. The Red Wings haven't yet. The Pistons trade deadline came and went, even though they're the best team in basketball right now, which is crazy. The Lions, people were upset at the trade deadline. They didn't do enough. So it seemed like the Tigers are falling into that same pattern. And then there was so much consternation over the Tarik Skubal arbitration case, where we talked last time. Tigers offered $19 million while Skubal's camp was asking for $32 million. Much of the speculation was that if the Tigers lost that arbitration case, they would not be able to add anyone this offseason, because that would be an additional $13 million that they weren't planning on. Scott Harris and Chris Hillard said, fuck that. Who cares about your $13 extra million? Enjoy it, Skubal. We're going to add to this fucking roster. In fact, the hearing was on a Wednesday. The results weren't going to come out until the next day, but after the hearings that evening, word quickly spread that out of the blue, Framber Valdez was signed by the Tigers to a 3-year, $115 million contract. There's actually an opt-out after year 2. Just floored everybody. And I did some research. There was not a brunch with Hinch, as I had speculated might happen. It was a dinner where Hinch and Framber Valdez met to discuss what it might be like if he returned, or if he came to Detroit to return with his old manager. Apparently that dinner was just as good or better than going to brunch with Carlos Correa a few years ago or whoever else.
Brunch
Alex
does not
Bregman.
work.
Yeah,
Brunch does not work.
No, it does not. So dinners are the key to getting old Houston Astros back on your roster. I love this deal. There's nothing not to like about it. It's a short-term deal. It's $150 million, which is a lot. It's $38.5 million per year, which is the most for any left-handed pitching free agent. But that's just money. Like, I don't care. He can leave after 2 years. That might be just great too if he does what he needs to do, and especially in 2026. We'll be happy to see him go find another contract if he wants. But if he sucks, which he's now 30, I think he's either going to be 32 or is 32, we're only on the hook for 2 years after this, one of which might not even be a season. So I'm not sure how that would actually work out. But there's no reason not to love every part of this deal. Valdez gives them, with Skubal, gives them the top two in any rotation in the American League. I would argue, unless you have an argument against, I could listen to. There might be better top to bottom rotations in the American League, but the 1-2 punch of Skubal and Valdez, I'd put it up against anybody. Valdez, he did have a rough last 10 games of the season. I think his ERA was over at 6, but for longevity, I mean, he's got the most wins of any pitcher since through the 2021 season till now. He's got 68 wins. Wins, you can say whatever you want, but he brings a wealth of playoff experience, including pitching in a game or a World Series clinching game for the Astros. He's got all the experience you'd want, and you're not relying on him to be your number one. He's the number two. He's like the perfect number 2 starter. So I love it. It was a shocking. It was something you could maybe see coming, but it's exactly what the Tigers needed and what Tigers fans really needed to get us fired up. They've instantly become one of the top leading candidates to win the world, to at least win the American League. World Series is a whole nother ball game, but I was floored by that. And then I was floored even more a couple days later when Justin Verlander agreed to terms. The return of JV to Detroit for just 1 year, $13 million, $11 million of which is deferred until 2030, which I thought was really interesting. Some of Valdez's money is actually deferred to 2030 as well. So I don't know how they came up with that or what that actually means or what that might mean. Maybe they're thinking there won't be baseball for 4 years after this. I'm not sure how that works, but I thought it was interesting. So the Tigers rotation, the only sad part about that is kind of confirm that the injury issues were more than Reese Olson could overcome going into the season. JV was signed as a replacement for Olson. So when out of the blue JV was signed, that news was not broken by Jeff Passan or Bob Nightingale or anybody like that. The Tigers broke that news, which is just basically never happens anymore. It's somebody, Ken Rosenthal or somebody's breaking it on Twitter.
Right.
That did not happen this time with Verlander. They kept it very close to the vest. Verlander said, he sat down after the season and just started thinking, well, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? And the first thing he thought of was come back to Detroit. Obviously, it wasn't really an option for the Tigers until Olson went down. And as soon as that, he actually had it's confusing with Olson a little bit. He was injured in August of last year and opted to rehab instead of surgery on his shoulder, which I've talked for a long time. Elbows are one thing, but shoulders are a fucking hazy mystery and are really concerning in a lot of ways when pitchers fuck up their rotator cuff or whatever else is going on in there. He opted to rehab it and then re-injured himself in October. And people were wondering, why didn't you just have the surgery back in October and then you'd be okay for now? Well, turns out even if he had the surgery immediately in October, he'd still miss the 2026 season. So he was going to roll the dice and rehab all off season, hoping that he could be back at some point this year. And it did not work. On February 2nd, apparently he finally had surgery. but he should be okay for 2027 if and when that happens. But that's where the JV side of it came in. So that's just a JV. I mean, he was on your Giants last year. Started out shaky. Didn't get any run support. It took him 2 months to get his first win with the Giants.
Yeah, it took a little bit.
I don't know if that was all his fault, but I believe it was his last 13 starts, he had a 2.6 ERA with your Giants at age 42. So if you want to look at that, that's a certain positive, but he's slotting in as the Tigers number 5, basically, behind Flaherty and Casey Mize. So I'm fine. It's such a cool story. Him coming back. He will retire, or he will go into the Hall of Fame with the Old English D on his plaque. Incredible marketing opportunities, of course. I mean, bobbleheads, every home start he's going to have is going to be sold out, at least to start the season. So it just made a ton of sense on a lot of levels. So I'm impressed and happy that that's how it turned out. And then I was thinking, well, if they need more starters, even more depth, would they go after Max Scherzer? He's still available, but that relationship is a little bit different, a little more strained. I've had some discussions with Tigers fans thinking, oh, bring back Scherzer in middle relief. Like, okay, but why would he want to do that? I've never heard of an aging superstar that would want to just come back to the bullpen just to kind of hang on. I think he would rather retire before he did that. So right now, Troy Melton would be the number 6 starter. He's kind of the swingman, can be the long relief or work into the rotation if they need him. So I really like the Tigers rotation. I like the back end of their bullpen, middle relief. That's always a crapshoot. But so the real question, of course, going forward is offense, which was incredible in the first half of last season and top 5 offense in all of baseball, and then a bottom 5 offense in all of baseball the second half and into the playoffs. So they're counting on, of course, prospects coming up. They're counting on young position players improving. We'll see how that goes. Everyone is excited to see the number 2 prospect in all of baseball, Kevin McGonigal, this spring training. We've got Max Clark, who's probably a year away in center field. Max Anderson is another name out there that made some noise last year in the minors. So there's some options. So they're kind of hoping to see an improvement from the offense, but the pitching is not going to be an issue. So the way it looks right now, so I'm fired up about that. Other Tigers news, which you may or may not have seen, is a new uniform, potentially 2 new jerseys leaked online, and the Tigers actually acknowledged that those leaks came out. They have not revealed their official versions of the new jerseys, but I sent you pictures of. I don't know if you had seen them on social media before.
I have not. I don't really have a lot of Tigers social media floating into me.
All right. The first thing I thought of was they look like Giants uniforms. There's an orange, all orange jersey with the navy blue old English D and some white and navy piping around the sleeves and neck. There's another jersey, which I don't think is real. It's a black jersey with the Detroit script, same as the script that's on current road jerseys. But the Tigers said they're going to be releasing an orange and a navy jersey. So I don't think we've seen what that darker jersey is really going to look like. This was all previously leaked. MLB The Show 26. I know you are a fan of MLB The Show, but do you have the latest version?
No, I do not. Okay.
Because there's a commercial or whatever that shows Skubal pitching in that orange jersey with a different cap, actually, the road cap, but with an orange brim on it. So there's speculation there might be a new hat potentially for Tigers fans to check out next year. But I don't know. I sent you those. If you had comments at least about the.
I did. I had my comment. I thought they were either batting practice jerseys or possibly spring training jerseys.
They do kind of remind me of that. They have worn similar jerseys in spring training previously. I don't know. I'm going to reserve judgment until the actual Tigers release, because these are not confirmed, and I'm sure that darker one is not correct because that's definitely a black jersey.
Yeah, that's black. Yeah,
not a dark navy. So that's also where I got my first instinct was like, are these Giants jerseys? Like, what's going on? Let's differentiate ourselves a little bit here. But so we'll see. So we'll be doing an eye wash for them maybe in the next week or two, whenever our next show is, when the official uniforms are revealed.
I mean, I can't wait.
I can tell.
I hope I can sleep between this podcast and the next as we await the official release of the new alt jerseys from the Detroit Tigers. Everyone, I know you'll be waiting.
I'm waiting. I can't wait. But maybe I might even have a new hat by this next show.
Holy crap.
Unprecedented. I've been wearing the Magnum PI home Tigers cap for decades, so I might have to change things up. You never know. That's all I've got for my Tigers. I think we should switch over to your White Sox, who are making all sorts of headlines. I mean, I've got so many bullet points for you guys. It's only been a couple weeks, but you guys are making headlines all over the place.
Well, we always make headlines.
The most fascinating team in baseball for
we
not always the right reasons.
Yeah, and most of the headlines are not for the right reasons. But the Sox have remained active in the free agent market. Some of it just a little bit surprising. You know, the Dominguez signing, I think it's Sir Anthony Dominguez. I mean, he's got the potential to be our closer this year. He's closed a couple times in his career, more like in a fill-in role, but over 306 lifetime innings pitched. He's got 330 strikeouts. He's got good stuff. I was kind of surprised by that.
I was too. Is that a move, looking to the trade deadline, like hopefully moving him for pieces?
I mean, I feel like they've either done a few of those or when you start to look at the shaping of the roster, I mean, do they feel like if things were to go right, you got either play, to your point. You've got, if nothing clicks, then Dominguez performs, you've got a trade chip, right?
Yeah.
But if the idea is we've put pieces together, the young talent's going to be, improved, much as like what we're talking about the Tigers, you hope they make a progression forward. Then do they, with the starting pitching depth, do they have enough there to maybe be more competitive than anticipated? I don't know.
It seems like a lot of things have to go right and very few can go wrong for that to happen.
Well, I mean, I think every team's maybe a player or two from being injured away from that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think like you said, if the Tigers offense comes out like it did ended the year, if that's the real Tigers offense, then
they'll win a lot of 2-1 games. They'll be fine.
No, they're going to be in last place. So, I mean,
I don't think so. Not in this division. I can't wait to do our Nostradamus breakdowns for the AL Central in a couple weeks. My goodness.
Like anything can happen. They signed Eric Fedid again to a one-year deal, who pitched extraordinary for them.
Forgot about that one.
And then they added Austin Hayes for some outfield depth, because there's his concern about Benintendi nagging injuries and using him more at DH this year, even though he has dropped 15 pounds to try to take some stress off his legs. But now you wonder, how does that affect his 20-plus home run power that he finally exhibited for us. So
found that power stroke last year, but
so I mean, we'll see. But I think most likely what you said is true. It's like, well, we're positioned to then continue to make deals and improve the much improved farm system, which is getting high rankings from certain people, like in the top 10 and things like that. So we'll see how that all plays out. In other news, well, I think I'm going to do this in a little different order than you have it listed. I think bigger.
They're your Sox. You can do it any way you want.
Positive news. someone that must be seeing the trend upward for the White Sox because they finally have an advertisement on their jersey.
Oh,
After years of
you're happy about this.
being Heisman by any potential people who wanted nothing did not want to be associated. They found someone. It's the CME sleeve patch. I forgot what CME is.
I forgot too. It's very forgettable.
It's very forgettable, but we won't by the end of the season because they will be on the Sox jersey. Oh God, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I'm looking it up too. See,
the CME Group, iconic Chicago institution, teams up for multi-year agreement reaching global audiences.
Iconic. That's an interesting adjective right there.
Yes.
I'm not sure they are iconic considering we had to just look up what they were. I mean, is this really a crypto exchange? I mean, is that what we're doing here?
I don't know.
Well, I guess you're right. We will learn more about this. The funniest part about it is you've struggled to find a sleeve sponsor. I don't know. The logo wasn't offensive to me. It's not awful, but
no,
it just makes you wonder why. I guess we just went to their website to try and find them. So it's brand recognition now. So I guess it's working, but I don't know. Did you see terms like how much the White Sox are receiving for this, or that's probably not reported, but
it just says it's a multi-year deal and they're also going to have the logo behind home plate.
Well, congratulations.
A prominent fixed signage behind home plate. Hopefully, with it being the White Sox, hopefully it doesn't block someone's view in the scout seats. They're going to be pretty pissed. Who put this goddamn sign here?
Well, considering some other oversights that the White Sox have had recently, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yes, and speaking of signs, nameplate could be considered a sign, and our biggest signing from Japan, they obviously let someone from some local Southside family go ahead and do the spelling of the nameplates to when Murakami's name was spelled incorrectly.
Yeah, they misspelled his first name, which I still can't spell. I think it ends with an A, but they ended it with an I.
I said Munataka. It was Munataki.
So I have so many questions about this. Like, yeah, who is running this? Who is proofreading this? Did the person that put the sign or whoever is making the decision and types it out, did they just assume they knew how to spell it? I mean, you would think you'd have to look up that name, copy and paste it from whatever source you're at. You're not just going to assume, oh yeah, every Munataki I know ends with an A, ends with an I. I don't know. It's just a bizarre, but it makes you wonder what's the proofing process. I'm a graphic designer. I made locker room signs for minor league baseball teams, but there's a process. It's not just one person typing this stuff up. Somebody's got to look at it, but somehow it slipped through the cracks to the point where Mooney was the one who found the error and took a picture of it and posted it on Instagram. That's how the world found out about the spelling error. I wonder it sounds like he found it amusing. It's more than anything, but I think it would be kind of offensive actually. if he's just posting it on social media and not talking to the White Sox about it. I thought that was interesting at least, but
yeah, I mean, I would be annoyed by it if my name was spelled wrong.
I still can't spell your last name. I have to look it up every time.
And I was your biggest signing, like the biggest deal, the most exciting thing you can talk about, for the most part right now. So like, what the
I never
fuck?
know where the I's and E's fall in your last name. So I always have to look it up. So, and I've only known you for 30 years. So
yeah, you apparently, you're hopeful that the roster that was handed to the person hopefully was spelled correctly there. I mean, you don't know where is the pitfall there? Who knows? I mean, if it's Chris Getz spelling the name from memory, then we know what happened.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't even know if his players bat left, right, or are switch hitters.
I mean, this story is crazy, and that he had to come out and apologize, and it just looks, the idea that he wouldn't know that Luis Angel
I love
Acuna.
Yes, you're in charge of saying his name going forward. Do it
I love
again.
that. I love that name. I can't pronounce Acuna though for some reason. But four, not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times. Chris Getz referred to Luis Angel as a switch hitter, which is in at least in Chris Getz's explanation and apology or whatever, he calls it a misspeak. But that's not a misspeak when you do it 4 times. He thought he was a switch hitter. Like that's not just like getting, you and I misspeak all the time. I misspoke probably 12 times in this podcast already. But when you say it 4 times in 4 different situations, and it's hilarious how that it's just some internet sleuther that found, video clips on the web and spliced them all together. It's concerning to say the least. I mean, it's silly. It's probably not a big deal, but at the same time, it is kind of a big deal. If you traded away Luis Robert Jr. for somebody you thought was a switch hitter, that they said they've been scouting for 2 years at the behest of Ozzie Guillen, who recommended the Venezuelan to them 2 years ago. They thought he was a switch hitter this whole time. Like, how did they get to that point? Were they really doing their due diligence? Just a lot of questions, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what was in Chris Getz's head. Was he just generally confused in talking with the media about his he kept talking about his versatility, and was he thinking how he plays multiple positions in the field and kept referring to him as a switch hitter? You know what I mean? Like
that would make sense to me if you got into a versatility thought process, if this happened on one interview, but not 4 different times. That's where it's concerning.
Yeah. I mean, it's more than him doing the scouting. So obviously I'm pretty sure people know he's not a switch hitter, but
nobody corrected him either.
Well, I mean, the press didn't correct him because they obviously didn't know, but no one's going to be there at the interview to correct him. He doesn't have an earpiece in. He's I
think there'd be someone around. He's not just doing interviews rogue on his own. Like there's some kind of process involved that might involve your assistant GMs, or I don't know. Again, just more questions than answers.
Well, maybe I think it'd be funny in a spring training game if Acuna did bat from the left side.
Maybe this is it. I think you may have just stumbled on it. He accidentally spilled the beans on their master plan to change him into a switch hitter.
Yeah.
This is what they were going to do all along, but he just didn't announce it. He just accidentally he misspoke and let it out that way. So that would be the best outcome of this whole fiasco, is if he did become like an awesome switch hitter.
Yeah. Or, he just, as a joke in his first at bat, gets on the left side and goes, whoa, timeout, and then goes to the right side. That would be funny.
I think you're right. I think maybe the White Sox are playing chess while the rest of us are playing checkers. Like you guys are way ahead of us.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Chris Getz is way ahead of all of us. All of us, not really, none of us. The only reason we know about this is because someone has too much time on their fucking hands and splice things together.
That's a good point.
The reporters never brought it up, which I find our Chicago beat reporters in every one of those interviews. Bruce Levine is right fucking next to him, and he never once said, "Isn't he a right-handed hitter?" Like, I'm shocked that the press who loves to point out mistakes that people make.
Yeah.
Like, no one brought it up any of those moments.
But once it was revealed, it became a national story. So they jumped on it after that, but they didn't catch it themselves. So which is hilarious. That's a good point. It
is pretty funny.
Maybe people will just start paying close attention to White Sox interviews.
The whole thing's funny, and I will say this about Chris Getz: the whole thing is like very embarrassing. Like, but he had fun with it. Versus, I feel like guys like Kenny would have told you to stay out of White Sox business, even if you're trying to help it. and like that regime would have been offended by pointing out their mistake.
Better stay out of White Sox business.
Getz was just like, fuck, I really I fucked this up. I'm just gonna do the right thing and pivot and try to eat it and make light of it. So, but I do agree with you. Like we'll never know, but it seems he thought he was a switch hitter, which like, what the fuck, dude? Like, it's
Well, all like you said, all will be forgiven if Luis
Yeah.
Angel like rakes and plays a solid
yeah. It does.
center field. And
At the end of
none
the
of this
day,
matters.
if he performs well, we'll just continue to laugh about it.
It will be a running joke though throughout the season, waiting for him to line up in the left-handed batter's box. That would be tremendous.
It would. It will. I hope it does. I hope they agree to do it as a little fun thing with Chris. If Chris is in attendance at whatever, maybe the first spring training game against the Cubs or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
On Friday, he could do it.
Yeah, we'll see. In other, I guess this is a lot of sexual harassment today.
Yeah.
Our old segment. Frank Thomas took exception to the Black History Month like story timeline of the White Sox history with African American players and in front office and just the organization as a whole, as he did not his picture was not placed anywhere on the materials.
Yeah, he went scorched earth on a graphic, on a Twitter graphic, basically.
Yes.
It was listed several Major League firsts or White Sox firsts with their Black athletes over history, which is a rich tradition. It did include a mention of Frank because he shared one of the titles with somebody else. I forget what it was, but it did not include his picture. But it's arguable that Frank Thomas is your best player of all time. He's in the pantheon there, at least. Best black athlete of the White Sox, certainly on the list. And he did not appear in the graphic. And he taking exception to it is one way to put it. Do you have his actual tweet there? What he wrote back? He wrote right back to the White Sox. Didn't contact them behind the scenes. He just went right to Twitter and said he's keeping receipts or something like that.
Yeah. So Frank replied directly back to the White Sox, as he pointed out, Smitty. I guess the black player who made you rich over there and holds all your records is forgettable. Don't worry, I'm taking receipts.
I mean, that's the most. I mean, all of this is so White Sox, like just angry. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised it happened for one thing, but then I'm surprised at Frank's reaction. Like, I think there's just a lot more to this, and it comes back to, what you were just mentioning earlier. You better stay out of White Sox business. Well, wasn't that Kenny talking about Frank Thomas, who after he left the White Sox was saying something about White Sox when he was playing with the A's?
Yeah, so and he sued the White Sox.
Yeah, there's definitely layers to this. So. It sounds like they've at least made amends for this. I believe he's been mentioned multiple times since that. That was just the initial graphic celebrating Black History Month. So I'm sure he's been mentioned since, but it's just fascinating. Like I say, there's something always entertaining with you guys.
Yeah. And when you actually look at the timeline, I mean, the picture where Bo Jackson sits is the picture where Frank Thomas probably should have sat, right? In the 90s. That's okay. The opportunity for Frank Thomas to appear on this thing. Because I looked at it carefully to see, like, at first I'm like, well, where's he even going to appear? I mean,
well, it's like Major League or White Sox first. So he could have been like the first ballot Hall of Famer, Black first ballot Hall of Famer for the White Sox.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
There are opportunities to find a way to put him in there. So I don't believe it was an intentional slight.
No, this is probably done by a social media person there who's some kid who. Yeah. And whatever. But if you think about the 90s picture, it remember the documentary? It talks about the iconic White Sox logo and how
they could have put him in there. Yeah.
Hip hop, because he was very prominent in that documentary.
Yeah.
And he had told the story about how Dre came up to him or something at the diner. And it's like,
the only thing you could argue is Bo Jackson was more of a national figure at that point, playing football and baseball. So maybe that's the only excuse I could come up with that, but I think you're right. That's the easy opportunity for them to include Frank, but I think it was an oversight. I don't think it was certainly not intentional, but just Frank's reaction over the top.
Yeah.
Spelled out. There's still some issues there that may never go away. He still works for the Sox, or is that technically through?
That's probably that's the
is he employed
Sox,
by the channel, the actual channel network, or is he employed by the White Sox?
Well, I mean, but isn't that it's owned by the White Sox? So
no, I don't know. I don't know
the
how any of it works.
Chicago sports. So I mean, that's
Okay.
it's Jerry's channel. So yeah, I don't know. It's whatever.
That's the best reaction is.
Well, I just think it's like a little bit of a overreaction.
Yeah,
I get it too in a way, but like if it was a slight, let's just say it was done with intention. Bo Jackson is still a prominent figure within the White Sox organization.
He still lives in the suburbs, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got those Bo domes. That's where Charlie practices in the winter. Cool. And he still does White Sox charity things and all that. So if it was we're going to put Bo Jackson or Frank Thomas because of that,
I don't know.
You get it, but I honestly think it's just a mistake.
It was a mistake.
It was not done no one was sitting there going, whatever you do, don't put Frank Thomas on there.
So we've got misspellings, misspeaks, and a messed up graphic, essentially, for this all in the span of the last 2 weeks. So, boy, you guys need to get on the field and start playing baseball.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our run for the AL Central Championship.
Yeah. Good luck with that. You have a 40-game improvement. We'll see where you're at.
Yeah, stranger things have happened.
I know you're a Pacoda guy. Have you looked at those yet this year?
No, I haven't looked at the Pacodas yet.
They're favorable to your White Sox. I think you're up to 70 wins.
Well, that was about what we were projected to have when we won the World Championship.
All right. I think we need to break that. I think you need to do a segment on that next week. We'll talk about all of that stuff.
Yeah, I'll pull out the Pacodas. I love talking Pacota.
You love that shit.
I say Pacota.
Is that all we've got for the White Sox? Unless something something else crazy happened while we were recording.
I say we hop on the red line and take it down to Addison.
Actually, we're gonna go down to Phoenix, or no, is it Mesa, Tucson? I forget where they play.
Yeah, wherever.
Tom Ricketts took the time to speak to the media on Monday. A Cubs owner who doesn't always do that. He didn't talk to the media last year to kick off spring training, but he wanted to say some words, including he believes his franchise needs to win more World Series, plural, which I'll agree with.
Yeah, no one's disagreeing with you, Tom.
Yeah, I think you could say that every year, and he chooses not to. For some reason, he wanted to say that this year, but he did want to add to that some advice to fans that he is heeding himself, and to enjoy this season with an obviously ominous overtone, referring to the looming labor strife, the potential lockout beginning this winter, putting in jeopardy the entire 2027 season. So it's kind of an ominous tone to what he was saying. So you can add enjoy the season to the list of quotes from Tom Ricketts over the last few years, including biblical losses and breaking even. Enjoy the season, fans, because this might be the end for a while. That brings up, of course, everything going on with the players union versus the owners. I've got some thoughts on that, but if we're talking about the players union, we've got to talk about the news that broke yesterday of executive president of the players union, Tony Clark, suddenly resigning, out of nowhere. And I saw it in the morning, or heard it on the radio. Then subsequently I heard it was because he was under investigation for essentially embezzling funds from the players union. But it didn't stop there. I mean, that's shocking enough. It didn't stop there. It took the most bizarre turn that no one saw coming, in that his resignation also had to do with him having an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, which isn't necessarily grounds for firing on its surface. It's bizarre, reprehensible behavior, but it gets even more complicated when you realize that she was employed by the players union since 2023. So he got her a job as part of their relationship. The instant question across social media was raised, like, was it his brother's wife or his wife's sister? And then which would be worse? I don't even want to get into that. Which side of that would be worse? But it's just a crazy story to have happen at any point, but to have it happen on the eve of this labor strife, the face-off that will be happening in December. There were some rumors that they were going to begin negotiations, at least sitting down maybe this spring, and start to discuss terms instead of waiting until next spring like they did at the last end of the previous CBA. They didn't even talk to each other until, basically on the eve of the season beginning. If they're talking about meeting now, that'd be great, but they just had their leader removed forcibly. It's just insane. I think I actually brought it up last episode talking about where Scott Boras has been acting as the head of the players union essentially. And there's been more talk about that, that Tony Clark wasn't the lead negotiator. He was kind of a figurehead in ways. So I think while it's a shocking headline and it's a bizarre headline at that, I don't think it really changes things too much. I don't think it takes leverage away from the players. I don't think it changes the situation as much as it, maybe the shocking headlines make things feel the day of and the day after the news came out. So I'm not sure how big a deal it is. I think Tony Clark was kind of unpopular, actually. I've read a few things. I kind of like the idea of getting somebody new in there anyway. We've kind of keep beating our heads into the wall with the last negotiations for the CBA, and we're going into the same people this time. I think it could be, maybe it's good news that somebody else is coming in there. And, if these rumors were about for years, they're questioning his leadership and questioning his decision-making, maybe there was some internal strife within the players union that there was some rumors. I remember they were there was a coup, but there was a move to actually get a new president a year or two ago that failed. But so maybe it's a unifying thing for the players, but I guess that story will be told throughout the season. But I hate to do this, but I do want to start talking about the labor negotiations. I know it either raises your blood pressure or makes your eyes glaze over. Whether you just get angry at billionaires fighting millionaires, or if you think this is all boring. But I think it's, if you're a huge baseball fan and you want baseball to continue, I think it's important to at least start to understand what they're fighting over. And just, I found a way to put things in kind of simple terms, but everyone knows this is about a salary cap, but with that, it also means a salary floor, and it means revenue sharing and all of that stuff. But, the players are obviously adamantly against a salary cap, but I think there's a potential where it could actually mean a lot more money for the players in general. If you look at it, I don't know if you've seen this stat, but I've seen it's widely reported that Major League Baseball is a $12 billion revenue industry last year. And with salary caps in other leagues, it's basically they take a 50-50 split. 50% of revenues go to the owners and 50% go to the players. I don't think that's an outrageous assumption that that's how a salary cap might look after this CBA is negotiated. Well, 50% of that is $6 billion. I just rounded it. It was 12.1 billion, but I'll round down and call it 50% is $6 billion. I did some math and you can double check my math if you'd like, but I just went to Fangraphs and added up all the salaries, all the payrolls from 2025 of all 30 major league teams. Mm-hmm. It added up to $5.4 billion. So right off the top, if that was pushed up to $6 billion, that is a 10% raise to all, to the players essentially. So if the owners were forced to immediately spend $600 million more, that's a good deal for the players. I guess I don't see how there's just nothing to really argue about except for the top players would not get paid outrageous amounts like Kyle Tucker getting $60 million a year in this offseason. You wouldn't have, Bryce Harper getting 300 and some million. You wouldn't have Juan Soto getting 700 million. Of course, Ohtani with his $700+ million deal. Those wouldn't be happening. But how many players are we talking about with that? I mean,
Right.
Is the union going to be fighting for those 10 guys? I don't think so. If they can raise everyone's salaries with those exceptions, I almost think it might become appealing. And that's where I'm kind of hopeful things might get settled and they might agree upon a salary cap. You probably haven't. Maybe you've thought about it a lot. Do you have? I think we started this podcast around a labor dispute 5 years ago. So we talked about it a lot. I think you and I are pro player in general. I feel like the owners have cheated them out of money over the years, and never feel bad for billionaires. They've got the money. I'd rather have the people on the field getting paid for what they're worth. I think the players' militant stance against a salary cap might be outdated because it works in other sports. It works in football. It works in it works in basketball and hockey. I think the main issue is actually going to come in another way that the players might have an advantage here when it comes to the negotiations is I'm not sure the owners are unified that they would want a salary cap, because why would the Dodgers want to give away their huge advantage with their $350 million a year they get from their TV deal before they even sell one ticket or sell any sponsorships? They've got more money than anybody has spent in a season. So why would they want to give that advantage away? Why would Stephen Cohen want to give that advantage away? On the other side of that, why would Jerry Reinsdorf and other quote unquote small market owners want to be forced to pay $100 million more per year for what the product they put on the field? I looked at some more numbers on Fangraphs. Actually, it was the same list. If you look at, I put that $6 billion number out there. Well, divide that by 30, the 30 teams, that's $200 million per team. So that's what every team should be spending. If they're spending the same amount, an average of at least, it should average out to $200 million, which it's not, obviously. But it's so offset by, the Dodgers and the Mets and those teams spending so much more. There's over half the league does not spend $200 million on their rosters. Then you've got those outliers at the top, 5 or 6 teams that wouldn't be agreeing to it. You might have 20, 25 of the 30 teams in baseball not really wanting a salary cap, even though this is all they've been saying is they want a salary cap. So I almost think the players can just sit back and call the owner's bluff. Like, well, you want a salary cap, give us the numbers that add up to $6 billion and we'll talk. And I'm not sure anyone but the middle class of baseball would be interested in that right now. So I don't know. Maybe you need to stop me before we get going in the season, because I've got more to talk about with the labor stuff. I don't know why I find this fascinating, but I want to find solutions and why we might not be doomed. I don't know. Do you find any of this interesting, or do you glaze over? Do you get angry?
I don't get angry. Okay. I get annoyed when baseball's canceled.
Yeah, that's why.
But I don't get angry. I mean, I find it all actually incredibly just annoying because, like you said, it's millionaires or in some cases billionaires fighting with other billionaires.
Yeah.
But it's really the players who are most concerned about it are the ones who are on the union, and those are the middle to lower paid guys. It's not, Ohtani's never going to be on the players union. Juan Soto's never going to be on the players union. They actually don't really give a fuck because they don't need to.
Yeah.
And there's things that don't make sense to me, but what you said all makes very good sense to me. There are a handful of owners who have no interest in having a salary cap whatsoever because that
might be the majority.
That takes their competitive advantage away.
Yeah.
The players not wanting the salary floor makes zero sense to me.
I think, there's got to be a floor. I think, and that's right now the players wouldn't even have a conversation. It sounds like they wouldn't even have a conversation that says salary cap, but if they do, that has to involve a floor. That's where I get to the $200 million range. That should be the average. Well, the only way you enforce that is to have a cap and a floor.
Yeah.
So the numbers I saw, at least on the Athletic, and they say it's generally agreed upon, is that would be, a $240 million cap and a $160 million floor. Well, that there's still half the league didn't even spend $160 million in their rosters last year.
No, I mean,
So
there's definitely most of the like Jerry Reinsdorf does not want a $160 million floor.
the only way they do in all of this works is more revenue sharing, and that's where the Dodgers and Mets, especially the Dodgers, will not vote for this because they'd have to give their whole advantage to everybody else.
Right.
So that's where it's complicated. Then that's another reason I think the owners are kind of fucked here because they're not unified. I think the rule is they have to have 23 out of 30 owners agree on whatever proposal they have. So I'm not sure they can get to that number. And if they can't even put a proposal on the table, maybe that's even a worst case scenario. But I just find it interesting. You just hear about, well, we got to have a fucking salary cap, but I'm not sure the owners really want it. And they're the ones that created this situation. I mean, you keep hearing about they have more unity than ever that they want a salary cap. Well, the only reason you want it is because your other owners created this situation. So
right.
I think there's gonna be a lot of infighting in that, and we'll never know about it. But it's I think it's got to be less unified than being reported.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Also right in like the players can probably sit back and just let this thing unfold, and then they're almost going to be like the mediators between the owners to get the deal done, in a weird way.
They can sit back and they can't at the same time because they don't have the coffers that billionaire owners have. A lot of, many players are going to be fine no matter what happens. Some have bills to pay, still. So despite, whatever the league minimum is, it's a lot more than you and I make, but it's not like they can sit around forever. So it's I don't know. It's so convoluted. It's almost like it's owners versus players versus players.
Right.
Which makes it even worse instead of just having a staunch, foot in the ground ownership and a staunch foot in the ground players. It's kind of nebulous all over the place, different interests based on their different incomes. So I don't know. I'll keep it to a minimum. Won't be doing I was going to call it dollars and cents, making sense of this bullshit, but I'm trying to make things simpler. That's why I kind of did simple math on it, just so it's kind of put things into simpler terms. And what does a salary cap really mean? So maybe once a month I'll have something like that, but I won't try to bore people too much. That's all I've got. That was a Cubs segment, but it was really, really much larger segment than that. But I think we should move on to our final segment, our newly named Eyewash.
Wait, are we not going to talk about the NL Central 2026 champion?
Oh my God,
Milwaukee Brewers?
I forgot all about your Brewers.
Yeah, you tried to forget about my Brewers, yet they're like a fucking hemorrhoid on your ass every season, irritating
I would never forget
you.
about that. Let's go. You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Brew crew, let's do it. Yeah, so, I would say the Milwaukee Brewers mantra is add by subtraction. And they've done it again. They got rid of Freddie Peralta. In fact, hours almost after we had cut the last episode.
That's right. It was that night. I forgot.
And we had commented about it on the episode. And hours later, it happened. Then they followed that up by taking their rookie of the year. Was he third? Did he finish third in the voting? Was it? Or
second or third? Yeah.
Yeah. Caleb Durbin, and they traded him for a bunch of pitchers.
Pretty good.
Essentially.
Pretty good prospects, actually.
And some good prospects. And you say to yourself, but how can they be competitive this year? And this is what I say to you people, to all the doubters out there. They are just such a well-run organization right now that the depth of talent that they have, they don't need to hold on to these expensive players to be competitive. They have enough talent and rising stars within that organization to yet again win another NL Central.
Well,
The problem is with this, but there is a problem with this.
There is.
One minor
The
part.
voodoo magic might run out.
The problem is if they don't make that big move at the trade deadline, they are going to fall short again in the playoffs when you get up against a team like the Dodgers.
Yeah, that was
that
was men against boys.
That is where it falls apart. In winning the NL Central, I honestly believe they have all the tools there. They have Andrew Vaughn at first base. He loves hitting home runs off the Cubs.
Oh, that's still one of the more bizarre stories. That is voodoo right there for sure.
That is, yeah. It's nice to see though. I always liked Andrew Vaughn, but like when you look at their rotation now, it's really not that bad off. You got Brandon Woodruff as your number one. Yeah. You got Quinn Priester, who had an incredible October. You got Jacob Mizorowski. You got Kyle Harrison, who's a banger. And you got Chad Patrick, along with, I'm going to give you a name right here. Are you sitting down? Good. Write this name down.
All right.
You got a pen and paper?
Let me get my pen, yeah.
You got it?
I got it.
Okay. Yeah. You are going to, oh, now I lost it. You are going to want to remember the name Tate Cooner. Keehner.
Spell that again?
Tate. T-A-T-E. Yeah.
Taint?
Tate?
Taint Cooners.
Tate Coons. No. Tate Cooner. Keehner. He is an under-the-radar prospect that they have who has been burning it up in the minor leagues, who will probably be a star in the league this year.
Wow. The name has been written down. The gauntlet has been put down by you.
Yes.
That is huge.
Really the biggest question is, by trading Durbin away, who's playing third base?
Does it matter? Does it matter?
Right now it's David Hamilton. Not so sure about that one, but they got that guy Jet Williams in the trade for Freddie Peralta, so that's a possibility there too. So
good name,
as always, as always, they have options. They're not a team just tied down with one option all the time. Well, they have the ability to make moves and make it happen.
When you have the ability to trade away your best players and get better, you've got a lot of options.
That's right.
Continually do it. I guess you're right. The rotation is still solid even without Peralta, but we'll see. This will definitely be fascinating when we get to our prediction show in a couple of weeks. Who comes out on top? Even though the whole world believes that the Cubs are by far the class of the NL Central, but
they are calling
that before.
The early power rankings came out. The Cubs are 2.
Wow.
The Cubs are 2, and I say what?
What does Pacoda say? I can't wait to talk about that next week.
I'm sure they say Pacoda had them. Pacoda was almost dead on with them last year. Yeah. You and I didn't believe it. And then the Cubs basically lived up to it.
Yeah, 92 wins. Not good enough.
Do better, Cubs. But that's all I got for the Brewers. I don't have any updates on the finalists of the Brew Crew Dance Troupe, but once I have that news, I'll.
Oh, did you record a video? We could post it on social media.
I did not.
Tryout.
Did not record a video.
Dancing out in the snow in front of your place?
I did not.
Did you put together a routine? That would be impressive.
I do have a routine, but I will not be sharing it.
Napoleon Dynamite?
Maybe.
All right. I think with that, then we can move over to a new old segment. We used to call it aesthetics. We're going to call it eyewash now. Talking about the uniforms and new logos and all the bullshit in baseball that doesn't matter, but I find interesting because I am a graphic designer by trade. I actually work in the minor league baseball industry, so I have designed uniforms and hats before. So I love all this, and I think over the years you've grown to love this segment as well because it's usually making fun of a lot of teams' marketing departments and how they overthink and over-explain things. We've got another prime example from the Miami Marlins as they have revealed throwback uniforms. I think it's just on Sundays.
First of all, let's talk about this. It's hard to really have throwback uniforms when you came to an existence in the early 90s, late 80s.
35 years old now. Yeah. So they've already got their throwbacks.
Come on. Jesus.
I think
Anyway.
they're awesome. They brought back the teals. They're the Florida Marlins again, which is kind of funny. But what's really funny is on social media, at least the graphics they put together have explanations of stuff, and they basically think that nobody knows what a throwback is. They try to explain what throwback uniforms are. It got so granular and unnecessary. But do you have those explanations over there?
Yes. Teal Sundays is what it's going to be. So every Sunday they'll be wearing this jersey. First one is always Marlin. The word mark across the chest is a reminder that through every era, we've always been the Marlins. Wait, what?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Why is it Marlins? Why does it say Marlins on the jersey?
Because they've always been the Marlins.
Why are they answering questions that don't need to be asked? I think what they're getting at is they used to be the Florida Marlins, and that they become the Miami Marlins, so we're always the Marlins. But it just came out the way they wrote that just sounds so fucking stupid. Yes, the baseball teams have put word marks across their chests for 150 years. Like, can we get more granular? Like, what are we doing?
White Sox say the White Sox on it because we've always been the White Sox.
We wear socks that are white.
Right.
What's a marlin? Can you explain what a marlin is? Big fish.
All right. It gets even better.
Oh, good.
We get into teal now. The explanation of teal.
I love the teal. They should have never switched out of teal, by the way. Just in my humble opinion.
Yeah, no. It was a original colored, good-looking jersey.
That was teal was kind of a fad in the 90s with a lot of teams.
Yeah, it was very Miami Vice-ish.
Yeah, but it just looked. No one in baseball had it. They owned that black and teal. It just looked. That's what the Marlins should look like. They changed to black and blue and orange.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing, but sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so teal, the color of the jersey, is a tribute to our roots. Okay.
Yeah.
Keeping our history alive in today's game. Yes, your long storied 35-year history.
Yeah. Again, they should have never switched out. I mean, so good for them. Back to the teal, but it's only on Sundays.
All right. Now on to the patch on the sleeve called the Legacy Mark. The Florida Marlins patch is a nod to our first chapter, carried forward and worn by the next generation as a badge of honor.
Again, an unnecessary explanation. I think as soon as they put the Florida Marlins patch on the sleeve, it's kind of self-evident. I don't think we need to know why they did that.
So yeah, that's it.
That's it.
It was three they could have stopped at Teal Sundays. Really?
Yeah. That explains it all.
That does. It does. Teal Sundays.
Well, graphic designers and marketing people got paid for that, so I'm always up for people getting paid for doing a cool job. But
I'm not sure the copywriter should have been paid.
You're probably right. But I love the uniforms. I think they never should have changed. I'm giving those 2 thumbs up, but the explanations are just fucking stupid.
Yeah, the uniform's great, but yeah, it's like you said, it really doesn't need explanation.
Yes.
I mean,
the explanation: Teal Sundays, Marlins.
That's it. Done.
Well, we are not done with Eyewash, this first edition of Eyewash, because there's more. This is a giveaway, and it's a jersey, but it's not a team worn every Sunday. But you sent this. I actually heard about this earlier in the day, and then I've heard a lot about the Rangers giving away a Nolan Ryan bloody jersey. And I've heard people call it the greatest giveaway idea ever. And I started thinking about it and it might be actually.
Yeah, I think it is the greatest giveaway idea ever.
I thought it was dumb at first, but the more I read about it and think about it, I think it's fucking awesome. So this dates back to 1990? Is that when this incident happened?
90 or 91, yeah.
Where Nolan Ryan was hit in the face with a ground ball off of the bat of Bo Jackson, who we mentioned earlier. He's come up twice in this episode. Bloodying the lip of Nolan Ryan, and subsequently photographs of that where his face is just a mess. There's blood all over the jersey. He remained in the game, eventually got 6 stitches after the game, I think is how the story goes. But the photographs of that are immortal in I guess in Rangers lore, go for a lot of money. So I didn't know. I don't remember. I wasn't huge into baseball in 1990. You were probably big.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that game or that jersey.
I remember it being widely reported.
Okay.
And you know, this is more of you had to watch it on the news or on ESPN.
Yeah.
Was not couldn't grab your phone and watch it. And it was showing like over and over again. And I think what's most impressive about the giveaway is the representation of the blood is quite accurate.
Yeah, I read the Athletic actually did they interviewed the designer and everybody about it. They struggled the designer himself said, well, I haven't designed many things that are supposed to have actual blood in it. So struggled to figure out the right tone, right color, the right tone, and what to make it look more than just like red splotches. They did a really good job kind of having it fade in the edges and stuff and make it look like real blood. But that kind of blows up my theory. And I was going to ask you if you thought that maybe Nolan Ryan actually bled on all 10,000 giveaway jerseys. Then I started doing the math. I'm like, he might have died from doing something.
Yeah, I'm going to guess he dies. He dies but then he really goes into immortality at that point.
I died for these giveaway jerseys.
Truly a master of his craft to the very end.
Well, the photo's iconic. It's so cool because he's just such a badass. It just kind of personifies what a badass he's, just bleeding all over the place, not giving a fuck and pitching through it. So I see where this came from and why it's so cool. So fortunately, no one was injured in the making of these replica jerseys that we know of. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest giveaways of the year. Although I did hear the Rangers are also giving away they call it the Nolan Ryan punching bobblehead this summer, where he had White Sox Robin Ventura in a headlock and just started giving him noogies basically on the top of his head. So that moment will be immortalized in bobblehead form. I'm not sure I don't know, that might be just as popular, but the bloody jersey is certainly made headlines and will continue.
They are doing the Robin Ventura incident bobblehead.
That's what they said in the Athletic.
Wow, because I was going to say, like, the only other thing that could be equally or more iconic than that is the fight with Ventura. That's awesome.
Yeah, they mentioned it in that article.
Rangers win right now as the best giveaways of. This goes above and beyond my idea of the City Connect jersey for the White Sox having an Italian beef stain on it.
It is along those lines. Maybe they stole that idea from you.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest.
Beef stain is nearly as iconic, but I mean, it has an impact on me.
Beef stain and mustard stain from the Polish, maybe the little onion grease stain too on the jersey. The new Rangers, White Sox City Connect 3.0.
Rangers just opened up a whole new realm of potential giveaways. That's great.
Oh, maybe the Sox will have a Guntgate giveaway.
Gunshot wound, like a bullet through the jersey. The bullet came from outside the stadium.
The magic bullet.
Oh, yeah, maybe it'll be a bullet giveaway. You never know. Kind of confuse the evidence so that the case remains unsolved.
Right. Exactly.
That's another $1 million idea. We've just got them. We've got all sorts of ideas. We should be getting paid for this shit.
We should.
All right. Well, we ended on a high note. That was fun. I think eyewash is here to stay. There's going to be, at least the Tigers, potentially before next episode, will reveal their new orange and navy alternate uniforms. We'll give those a thumbs up. Oh, you didn't give would you give the thumbs up for the Marlins teals?
Oh, I give thumbs up. 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. All right.
I said it kind of
thumbs up.
I think I said it kind of quickly.
So, maybe I was probably talking over you. I tend to do that. Sorry about that. Not really.
What? Did you say something?
With that, we will wrap up this episode 180.
Holy shit.
Enemy of my enemy. We're going to get to 200 this year. Not sure when we'll be doing the next show. Hopefully next week there'll be enough to talk about, and based on our work schedules, it works out. So we'll be churning these out. Until then, you can find us on social media at Enemy Ball and online on the web at enemyball.com. You can find us on YouTube at Enemy Ball, and you can find this podcast anywhere you'd like to find a podcast. So with that, I'm going to declare this podcast is over. Peace.
Peace.
Post-game show is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
One guy poured beer all over my head. The guy said, how can you take that? I said, look, that man didn't do nothing. He poured some beer on my head. He's just showing he's a White Sox fan. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
Sparky, a million thanks for, as always, the most interesting interview. And now today, let's just have a lot of thrilling baseball and not so many fisticuffs.
Word Hole Media.